Okay, so we're here on the December 18th, 2023 Finance Committee hearing. We do have a quorum. I'll start by moving to approve the minutes from the December 11th meeting.
Second.
All right, that is moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. So tonight is the final night of the budget hearings. This gives an opportunity if anybody on council does have any amendments or substitutions to offer, any general questions before we move on to, I believe, would be a substitution from the Director of Finance. Hello. Okay, hearing none. Director Rankator, I believe that there are some substitutions or amendments from the administration. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, there's just one. It's for ordinance 22-2023. It's the one we always traditionally substitute for the year end. There's always information that changes between November, when we submit it to you originally, and December. So that was submitted Friday morning to everyone. We emailed everybody on council, and that's it. If you'd like, I could run down kind of what's on the agenda for the different ordinances. Looks like we have 17 of them here.
Sure, if we could start with just a summary of any significant changes to the appropriations on 2022-2023, and then maybe a brief just explainer of these ordinances that are going to be before us at council tonight.
So in terms of the changes with the year-end ordinance, probably the biggest things would just be related to capital and capital projects. So there's a number of things we have to do in terms of our general administration when we account for things like the Interceptor Tunnel, our capital transfers and advances, and of course you'll see an ordinance about that. We have some revenue replacement money, our 27th pay and our separation payments, insurance, and also I think I did mention that we have to run our revenue replacement projects through that one section. So that's in the general administrative section. It's we have to be in legal compliance with how the state auditor's directive is for accounting for our ARPA funds. That's really the biggest change. A lot of what's in here, we de-appropriate a lot of funds where we didn't have any activity in them throughout the year. What we try to do is always appropriate as much as we can in the different funds if there's fund balance there, so that we're covered. But it's just kind of a traditional way we have of dealing with these items. In terms of the rest of sort of the docket that we have on Finance Committee, that's really on the second, let me see, that's the first item we have on the Finance Committee agenda was the 2023 appropriations. Then the second item deals with the transfer ordinance. We always have these year-end transfers, and what we try to do is, one, you'll see some, it's not just transfers, but also advances. The advances, pardon me, I'm losing my voice. The advances are there to make our negative funds whole, so at the end of the year, we have to make sure that we're in compliance with our sections of the revised code that require us to have a positive fund balance in all of our funds. So what we do is we take money from the general fund, advance it to the funds that are negative. Some things that are typically negative are CDBG funds and all the ESG and those like funds. Usually, like this year, we'll have family to family and some of those. And then, there's capital transfers in there to cover our projects that we have on the plan for 2024. And that's, I would say that's kind of summarizes ordinance 23-2023. And the ordinance 24-2023 is the 2024 budget. And after that follows, I would say, ordinances 25-2023 through 33-2023. So those items 4 through, actually 4 through 13, all deal with contracting authority. So that's where all those are located. So if you're looking for items, Mr. Chairman, to kind of read together, those might be items to read together, 4 through 13. Those are all similar. Ordinance 35-2023, number 14, that is, of course, our water and sewer rates. And we had, Lou McMahon and Joe Correa here discussing that at one of the meetings. Ordinance 36-2023, my assistant director, Jessica Eddy, kind of discussed that with you at the Finance Committee meeting last time at the very end. Ordinance 37-2023 was in Claudia Dillinger's kind of lead-off Finance Committee meeting where she talked about the salary ordinance. And then number 17, 2023-65 is the CDBG action plan. So that kind of summarizes everything that we have on the menu for passage, and I hope that kind of goes through that. And if there's questions, we definitely want to be able to answer them and get the budget passed.
Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Chair. Director Rankin, thanks for this and for the overview. It's actually always helpful to recap. Can you just one more time to make sure I'm following clearly on items 1 and 2, which is ordinances. It's the transfer and advance ordinance and also the year-end update for the current 2023 budget. I just want to make sure I understand what the changes are. There may be no changes in the transfer and advance compared to what was introduced. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So looking at that, we've got, just reading that. Okay, it's wastewater treatment to debt service, wastewater treatment plant improvements to debt service and to the wastewater treatment plant. And then the general fund, subsidizing Office on Aging, the capital projects, and Winterhurst. Okay. And Winterhurst, I believe, is capital. That's what is entailed in that line item.
Definitely, there's been a lot of work at Winterhurst this year. We also had to put a down payment for the ice plant that we're putting in 2024, so it required a few $100,000 up front. So we went ahead and got that paid for in 2023.
Okay.
And then 2024 we have that project, and there's a lot of
And,
things
and both
we-
of those are incorporating that $2.25 million proposed transfer.
Yes.
Okay. We have not typically, that I can recall, paid for capital out of the general fund. We're doing that, or you're proposing that we do that now, and we can afford that. And how? Tell us a little bit about how this funding proposal came about. In other words, that it wasn't from some other source.
We're always concerned, as you know, Mr. Bullock, about our debt load here in Lakewood. So we're fortunate that we do have a debt fund, but still we have a lot of debt. And in order to manage that debt, we want to do whatever we can to not have the debt kind of hanging over our head. In order to do that, we kind of look for places other than just the debt fund in order to pay for our large capital projects. This year was a better year than most. One of the reasons we did good in our general fund budget was interest rates. So we all know that interest rates rose, and when they rose, we didn't have a huge amount budgeted in terms of revenue for the interest rates, and the interest rates went up quite a bit in 2023. So we're able to do that based on one, really interest and the strength of our income tax for 23. So
Okay.
those are two ways I think we've been able to do those things. These are huge projects that we're going to have to tackle and pay for some way or another, and yes.
So the logic here, there's twofold. One is that we've had stronger income tax receipts, which we talked about the other Monday, I believe. And we had that remarkable 10-year income tax, the actuals and then the estimates for the current and next year, I think. And it's grown by something like 50%, which is pretty remarkable over 10 years. So that's the capacity. And then your point to the council is that rather than incur a 7% loan or something like that, we pay cash, avoid that higher interest rate. The other debt that's on the books already has a fixed rate, I believe, unless it's a portion of it still has to go to the bond, or actually, I've got that wrong, notes, one or the other. But the point is that we've got better interest rates for the longstanding debt. Any new debt would face the higher interest rates, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Now, my financial advisor would say this is a loan to yourself. Will we pay back the general fund as capacity allows to strengthen our fund balance, or is that not what you've envisioned here?
I mean, it's all city money, and, you know, I think the general fund is the fund that, it's the chief fund of the city. So anytime we spend money out of that, we want to do it prudently. I don't know if I'd call it a loan to ourselves, but it's just another pot of money that we have for our operations. We don't want to take too much money out of our operations because we want to be able to operate. If we can't operate, we can't pay for fire, police, public service, all those things that we do to provide services to our citizens. So,
Okay, all right. Thank you for the explanation of kind of what's behind the financial structure of what you propose. And then for, I'm sorry again, the year-end appropriations, permanent or appropriation for 2023, should I be looking on the docket at exhibit, no, those are exhibits A and B, but
yeah, probably exhibits A and B are
Okay.
what you'd want to look at. I mean, the ordinance is the ordinance, and then the, you know, all the details are in exhibits A and B. Exhibit A is kind of the summary of everything.
okay. And the big changes once more were, I think I heard you say something about ARPA.
Yeah, if you kind of look
bookkeeping.
at Exhibit A, you'll see like a minus $8 million there as a reduction, and that's really just our accounting for that, what we have to do to comply with the ARPA rules. And, you know, we have to do things like run the expenditures, like the revenue replacements through there, and then back through, and we pay for it from the general fund, and then it gets transferred elsewhere, basically, or, yeah, to pay for our ARPA. So they offset between the ARPA and the general fund. That's what the revenue replacement does.
Okay, and by the end of 2024, that has to be at zero, is that correct? That fund, the ARPA fund?
No, doesn't have to be zero, but that's a good observation because by the end of 2026, we have to expend all of our funds.
Okay.
So if there's a project that we have, we definitely want to have it obligated by the end of 2024, and that's the most important thing to be astute on for 2024. So anything that we have that kind of we need to hash out in 2024, we definitely want to have it either spent or, you know, pretty much spent or obligated, because we don't want to get stuck with unspent money that we might have to return. So we want to have it obligated, and kind of the genius of how we kind of pass some of this stuff is there is more in the resolutions that we passed than, you know, what we actually have in ARPA in case one of the projects doesn't go through or doesn't go through right, or there's an issue with timing with some of the projects, which, you know, we know that there is. So we're able to be flexible enough to spend that money, so we're not kind of caught with fund balance there in the ARPA fund.
Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate all the answers.
Anyone else have any questions, concerns? I'm just a little interested in ordinance 37-2023, the salary ordinance, and just the rise in the Civil Service Commission payment from, or salary from $4,100 to $5,000. I'm just curious if there's any, probably should have asked that when Dillinger was here, but she's happy at home currently. But, because my only observation is I know in the charter that they're one of the few that are required to have a salary, but, I mean, as Council President Liddon, in his communication to the Civil Service Commission, pointed out at the last regular council meeting, that we, as council, I mean, met, 90 times this year, number of hours outside work, and Civil Service Commission is making a quarter of council salary for 12 to 14 maybe meetings. I don't know how many times they meet a month. I know Cleveland's meets twice a month. Lengths of times. I just, if anybody at the table currently has any reasoning behind the salary increase, or I'd be happy to hear it, but otherwise I'm okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, sure.
In discussing this with Director Dillinger, it was that her recommendation, based on the fact that it had not been raised since 2006. So it is before you.
Okay.
That's all I have on that.
Curious if any other members have any thoughts or opinions, or either way, it's fine. No strong opinions either way. Yeah, Kyle?
Yeah, and I'm remembering back to Director Dillinger's presentation, which seems like forever ago, but
Yeah.
it was indicated that it fairly matched kind of what the level of their work. We shouldn't let the fact that it will be a quarter of our compensation deflect from adequately compensating them for their time. But it is a related and noted issue.
Yeah. All right. All right, any other questions? General? Oh, all right. Thank you very much to the administration, especially the finance department, and putting all of this together. Very informative. Past, has it been a month or a month and a half? I don't know, I lose track of time. But thank you for all the work you put into this and managing the budget and keeping us all informed. I think at this time we're going to go through the ordinances and refer them either favorably or unfavorably to the regular council. So I will move to recommend for approval ordinance number 22-2023.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. I move to recommend for approval to full council of ordinance 23-2023.
Second.
That's moved and seconded. No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Ordinance number 24. I move to recommend to the full council ordinance number 24-2023.
Second.
That's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. I move to recommend to the full council ordinance number 25-2023.
Second.
Move seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. I am now going to move to recommend ordinance number 26-2023 to the full council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes. I move to recommend ordinance 27-2023, full council.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Move to recommend ordinance 28-2023.
Second.
Be approved by full council. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. I move to recommend ordinance 29-2023 to full council.
Second.
Move to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Move to recommend ordinance number 30-2023 to the full council.
Second.
As moved to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I move to recommend ordinance number 31-2023 for approval to the full council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Aye. Also aye. I move to recommend ordinance number 32-2023 for approval by the full council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Move to recommend ordinance number 33-2023 for approval to the full council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I move to recommend ordinance number 34-2023 for approval to the full council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Move to recommend ordinance number 35-2023 for recommendation by the full, be approved by the full council.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. I move to recommend that ordinance 36-2023 be approved by the full council.
Second.
That ordinance has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I move to recommend ordinance 37-2023 for approval by the full council.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. I move to recommend resolution 2023-65 to be approved by the full council.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes unless there's anything further. Without objection, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.